So we are going to cover movement. As we can see, we have the rocket right now. It's moving according to the position of our mouse. But what happens if we are wanting the rocket to just by itself, without our mouse, go from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen? Or from the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen? From right to the left? So that's the kind of behavior we need if we're wanting to control it like this with our arrow keys. In order to explain this, we are going to jump into a whiteboard to have a look at how kind of motion and animation works in P5. So we have our function. I'm going to write it out. Function draw. And now, this is the function that ends up drawing things to the screen in P5. Each line kind of runs one at a time. So whatever is on, let's use a different color, this line, this line, this line, this line, whatever different commands we have there. This one will run, then this one, then this one, then this one. Now the interesting thing about this is that when it gets to the end, when it gets over here to the end of draw, what happens is that it bounces or it jumps back up to the beginning. So it starts again. And then it will run this line again, and this line again, and this line again, and this line again. And then it will do that again. It will run this. It will jump all the way back to the beginning. And it will repeat this in what's called an infinite loop. Over and over and over again. Now, what if we do the following? If I create some sort of variable outside, I'm going to say, like, if I make my variable let x is equal to 10, and then whatever shape, let's imagine we're doing a circle, right? And we know that circle takes in an x and y position, and then a diameter is its arguments that you give it. And let's imagine I give it x, and I give it, let's say, 200, I give it a diameter of 20. Let's put that into code and see what happens. So I'm going to comment out all of this code for the time being. I'm going to move x outside of draw. And I'm going to make it equal to 10. I'll get rid of this one. And I'm going to say circle. And say x. I'll say 200 for y. And I'll say 20 as my diameter. And I hit run. We get this little circle over there. If I do the following, if I say x is equal to x plus 10, look what happens. We get multiple balls, almost like this line of balls that are moving across the screen. If I do one more additional thing, if I just add in a background, I go background black, and I hit run. Notice how we just have one ball. Okay, we've got motion, we've got movement, but why? What on earth is going on here? It's like a little bit funny. So let's come back into that whiteboard, and we can draw out what's happening here. So what we did is the following. All we did is we added another line. We said x is equal to x plus 10. So I'm going to put like a little table over here that says like loop number. And I'm going to say the value of x. Okay, so this is my table. So when this first starts, our loop number is 0, right? So when we're here, our loop number is 0. When it runs again, it will be loop number 1. When it runs one more time, loop number 2, loop number 3, loop number 4. So at loop number 0, we know that x is equal to 10. Okay, because we set it over here. Now, after it runs, or when it gets here, it's going to say x is equal to x plus 10. So x is currently 10. X is equal to 10 plus 10. X is going to be equal to 20. So it means when it comes back around for the next loop, when it's back up here, and that's loop number 1, then we're going to say that x is 20. When we then loop number 2, x is going to be 20 plus 10, so x is going to be equal to 30. Now, each one of these times, circle is going to be drawn. So at first, circle is going to be drawn at 0 and 10, right? So let's just put a circle over here, 0 and 10. We can maybe draw a line up to some x-axis over there, and that's 10. And now the next time, over here, at loop number 1, now all of a sudden, x is 20. So the circle has been redrawn. And then the next one at, say, 30. So when we didn't have background, you noticed how we got all these circles, just boom, 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 one next to one another. And what's happening is that it keeps redrawing it. But if we were to include the background command, if we include background, and we put whatever color is there, we said black. What happens is that the background is drawn on top of the circle. So you just can't see the old circle. So what happens is the following, that the first circle is drawn, right? So let's go in order. So first this line is run. So the first circle is drawn, this over here, this circle. Then background. So now once background is then drawn, we're going to put a black, let me see if I can't get a color going here. There we go. Okay, we're going to get blue, right? It's transparent, but in code it's not transparent. A blue background is applied. Well, let's do this appropriately. Let's make sure we'll put this. Okay, my goodness, if you have OCD, that can't be good for you. But so background blue, and now x is equal to x plus 10. So then x will be equal to 20, and now this line will be run again. And then the next circle will be drawn. Now, at this point, you just have your blue background. And then again, another blue background is drawn on top of it. And then it goes over and over. So that explains why if we have a background, it moves. We only have one circle, whereas if we don't have a background, we have multiple. But this shows you movement. So we know if our x is increasing, we're going to be moving to the right. How could we maybe do it such that we move from the top to the bottom? So in order to do that, all we'll need to do is, instead of changing our x coordinate of our circle, we'll need to change our y coordinate. So we could leave it as x, but usually you want to change the variable name. It's not too important. Let's just leave it as x just to illustrate. So I'm going to put x, our x position over here at 200, and hit run. And then we get a ball that moves from the top to the bottom. So it doesn't matter what the name of the variable is. What matters is the position you put it in circle, because whatever you put here is the x coordinate, whatever you put here is the y coordinate. So ideally you would put y or something to the extent. If I put it in both, then it's going to move diagonally. And we have a diagonal moving ball because it moves a little bit to the right and down, and then right and then down, etc. And then if you want to move to the left, you decrease x, and if you want to move up, you decrease y. So that should give you a basic introduction of how to move in different directions. And the one thing I want to introduce, and where people make a lot of mistakes very often, is that they'll do this. They'll put this inside of draw. Now, if I run this, I should get a circle when it eventually decides to run. Starting to be quite slow today. There we go. There we go. So now when I run it with x inside of draw, we got the ball, but it's not moving anymore. Why? Can you think back to the difference between local and global scope? So what's happening is, because draw is running over and over again, whenever x is increased, it's reset by this line. Because it'll start at 10, right? The value of x will be 10. And then over here, it will be set to 20, right? So we'll say 10 plus 10. And then we'll jump back up to the top. We'll say width is equal to 100, height is equal to 250, and x is equal to 10 again. So x is always going to be 10. And then this is going to run. It's going to set to 20. So our x never changes. However, if we set x as a global variable over there, now our x will change. Because now we're not resetting it every time we run draw. So we hit run now, and we get the movement that we're looking for.